In 150 yards, turn right onto Dover Road. Turn right onto Dover Road. Continue for 1.5 miles.
Will be a public holiday. The Queen's coffin will begin its journey from Balmoral tomorrow when it's taken by road to Edinburgh. This evening, the Prince and Princess of Wales and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been meeting well-wishers at Windsor. William and Harry and their wives Catherine and Meghan also looked at flowers that have been left in memory of the Queen.
Lovely, all 4 of them together.
It's a sad occasion, but it brought them together, so it's lovely.
I thought it was good. It was nice to see them out together.
Other members of the royal family have been looking at flowers and tributes that have been left at Balmoral. Earlier today, Charles III was proclaimed King in London following a meeting of the Accession Council.
The crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is solely and rightfully come to the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George.
In carrying out the heavy task that has been laid upon me, and to which I now dedicate what remains to me of my life, I pray for the guidance and help of Almighty God.
At Buckingham Palace, the King has met the Prime Minister, other members of the Cabinet and opposition leaders. At Westminster, a special Saturday sitting of the House of Commons has been taking place. MPs have begun swearing an oath of loyalty to the King. LBC weather, mostly dry and clear tonight and turning chilly with a low of 5. Warm sunny spells for many areas tomorrow. Cloudier in the west with some rain and a high of 23.
We're going to be coming to your calls soon. We are talking in this last half hour of this show about King Charles, our new king. As that Prince of Wales, he was often criticised as a starry-eyed campaigner for New Age causes, and he has often prided himself on being an alarmist, stirring people's consciences, writing his spidery letters, trying to change people's minds, affect and influence. Is he going to be able to carry doing this as a king? Or is he going to have to step back and be far less political? He has said that he will, but we've heard from some callers today that actually they like his campaigning voice. They like the fact he's got opinions. They think it humanises him. They think that because he has been campaigning on the environment since 1970 is where he first made his first speech about the environment. That was even before I was born. That this resonates with his younger subjects out there, and I want to hear your view. What kind of king do you want him to be? Do you want him to carry on being more of an activist king with his own opinions, or do you want him to model himself more on his mother, the Queen? Give me a call on 0345 6060 973, text 84850, tweet at LBC. But in the meantime, we need to go back to some breaking news that the Lib Dem conference has been cancelled. And only just now we were talking to George Parker, who's the political political editor for the FT, because there have been rumours about whether all the conferences should be cancelled, because just to be clear, we've had 6 weeks of basically no government. We just got our new Prime Minister. Our Queen then tragically passed away.
In 300 yards, keep right to continue towards Tons Lane, A355.
For an extremely long time. We've got a day of mourning for the funeral next Monday. We then have literally a couple of days where I don't even think the House of Commons is sitting. We don't know yet. And then we go into the conference season. Well, we've got an energy crisis playing out. We have a war in Ukraine.
Keep right.
Our Prime Minister saying she's about to restart fracking. So is this the right time to be doing it? Do you agree? Should we be cancelling the conference? Is this the right time for everything to be slowing down to such a slow crawl? And also around the country, I'd like to talk to you all about is that various events have been cancelled, from the Premier League to the Met Office giving out its weather reports. You at home may have had your child's football matches cancelled this weekend, as I did. My 14-year-old son can't play his football match tomorrow. I have huge respect for the Queen.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London Heathrow Airport.
Coming together, as we saw in the cricket today, is a great time to show our respect and to share our feelings. Here to talk to me about this is Ellis Cashmore, Professor of Sociology at Aston University and author of Studying Football. Can you start by giving me some perspective on the scale of the events which have been cancelled?
Well, they called off the entire Premier League for the weekend, Emily, and also the English Football League. I also noticed that the PGA golf event at Wentworth has been cancelled. The test, the cricket test between England and South Africa, that's been put back. There's been a huge boxing match called off.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
Suspended. The England-Scotland rugby game. But probably there are a few more events from sport that have been called up that have escaped me. But I think generally, Emily, the mood has been that this is not a weekend, a typical weekend, and as such, sport has to show its respect the same as other areas of society, and has just suspended activities for the weekend. On balance, I think it's probably the right thing to do. I was at my gym this morning, and a few people were grumbling, saying, football fans, you can expect. They were saying, is it necessary? And I said, well, it isn't necessary, but if sport wants to show that it is sharing in the morning, the same as everyone else, then I think it has to do something. And I think that this is a small. I mean, let's.
Why not play the national anthem?
Yes,
yeah, why not play the national anthem? You can bring God Save the Queen.
They could have had a minute's silence.
A minute's silence. I just think there are so many other ways to show mourning rather than just cancel.
Okay, football fans are typically, or sports fans are typically not very good at showing their respects, as you know, but they've improved in recent years with the kneeling before games. So they've shown themselves quite restrained in that respect. So I agree with you.
I know, but can I just say, why cancel my 15-year-old son match tomorrow? Because the FA did, cancel all matches.
Yeah.
And so then all the younger junior football teams around the country have cancelled. I don't see how that is showing a sign of respect or mourning for the Queen.
A friend of mine has been similarly affected. He usually takes his boys to play football Saturday morning, and he hasn't been able to this morning. Let's put it this way, it's inconvenient, but these kind of events don't come along all the time, let's face it. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, and I think we can make an accommodation to show our respect in the most vivid way and spectacular way, in a sense. I mean, people are put out by this. Of course they are. The stores are being closed. Weatherspoons stopped playing music, I understand. Strike action has been suspended. These are exceptional circumstances, and I think cumulatively, they serve to show that this is an extraordinary event that affects everyone, not just the royal family, but everyone.
Thank you so much, Professor Ellis. Back to your calls now. Eddie has called us from Hayes. What do you want to see from our new king? Would you like him to show, carry on sort of campaigning for the environment and showing passion for the topics that he feels passionately about, or do you want him to take much more of a back seat and model himself on the Queen, former Queen, his mother?
Before I get on to mentioning King Charles, I want to mention first of all that just about an hour ago, I was sitting here in tears of joy, because I saw William and Harry in Windsor together with their wives, greeting the public. That is something I am sure the Queen is in her coffin now with a big smile on her face because of that. And I hope that that continues. Now, with regards to King Charles,
I think that, can I just, before we go on to King Charles, I think that is a very nice point to bring up, Eddie, because I think this is a family in mourning. And
in 2 miles, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
To show their respect. And I think that we see 2 brothers making a big effort to heal rifts between them at this time of mourning, when the country is coming together to celebrate their new king, mourn their queen of 7 decades. I think we did need to see that unity from the brothers, don't you?
Indeed. Yes, indeed. And in fact, I would go further to say that when the mother died in 97, someone phoned me and woke me up in the morning about 4 o'clock in the morning to tell me that she had died, because I was only speaking about her about a couple of weeks before on the radio. Anyway, I wrote a poem about her, and I've never shown the public. Nobody has seen that, but I think that I want to send it to these 2 brothers, because it upset me to know that she went so far to heal wounds and heal hearts and build people's souls up around the world, landmines and things like this. And a wonderful creature like that had to leave this earth so prematurely.
I agree.
These boys are walking in her footsteps, and I hope that they can continue. These 2 boys can be leading the world today.
In a 1/4 mile, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
Well, I'm literally, as I'm listening to you, Eddie, I just, sorry to break in, but as I'm listening to you, I'm watching the news screen beside me, and many members of the royal family have been at a service in Balmoral, and they are gathering there to look at the tributes. Now, we haven't seen them on the outside.
Exit at junction 4B, then keep right at the fork.
Cameras on them, in showing huge grief, actually, at this point, huge open grief in front of all of us. The cameras right there, many of the family, the royal family, openly in tears, looking at the tributes to their grandmother.
Keep right at the fork.
Thank you so much. much for your call, Eddie. I appreciate you sharing your feelings about the brothers uniting and coming together, and your abject love for your...
Continue on M25 south for 1.5 miles.
Charles, in a moment first. And we're talking, I just want to remind you, we're talking about what kind of king do you want, and please do give me a call on 0345 6060 973, text 84850 and tweet at LBC. We're going to come back to your calls, but we are talking about other big events happening around the globe and in this country, including the energy crisis, and the war in Ukraine rages on. And these past 24 hours, we are hearing absolutely incredible reports that the Ukrainian forces are making some significant advances there, especially in the northeast. I am joined now by General Sir Richard Barrons, former senior British Army officer who previously served as Commander of Joint Forces Command on the Chief of Staff Committee. Wow, I got that out. Enlighten us, General. Please tell us what's going on. We could really do with some good news on Ukraine, couldn't we?
Yeah, good evening. So there is good news. So we saw some weeks ago, for the first time really, Ukraine going on the offensive, and they were attacking around a place called Kherson
in half a mile at junction 14, use the left 2 lanes to take the A3113 exit to Heathrow Airport.
Kherson's so key in this war, please.
So Kherson matters because it sits in the south of the country, next to the Dnieper River. So it controls access to the river that goes all the way...
Use the left 2 lanes to exit at junction 14, then keep right.
Crimea, which has been in Russian hands since 2014, and it's one of the first places. It was the
keep right.
Military success the Russian military had way back in February. So it has both military and political significance if Ukraine could take the city, and they have not yet. They have made progress in the area of the city, and they're very wisely trying to cut the Russians off by demolishing the bridges that connect Russian forces in Crimea to Kherson. And then when the time...
In 1/4 mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto Airport Way A3113.
But this is going to be slow and patient going. But what's happened in the last couple of days is really interesting, because Ukrainian intelligence is clearly very good. It's their country, and they spotted that up in the north of the country, around a place called Kharkiv, which is was once the capital of Ukraine way back, and they spotted it was very lightly held by not very good Russian forces, partly because Russia had to move forces all the way around to the south for the Kherson battle. And they've attacked in this area, and they have made progress, perhaps as much as 60-70 kilometers worth of forward progress, and begun to threaten significantly the Russian supply lines that run from Russia south into the Donbass. This is really important. It shows that Ukraine can go on the offensive, and it is making good use of the equipment that the US and the UK and others have provided. It has signalled to the west...
In 1/4 mile, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Southern Perimeter Road.
Including, let's be honest, the £100 billion we're going to spend supporting our energy prices. With our help, they can win this war and throw Russia back.
Can I just ask, do you think is this a turning point in the war?
Well, we should be cautious. So it's a turning point in as much as it is moving the Russians back. But we now need to know how the Russians respond, because they're perfectly capable of moving forces now in order to stop that Ukrainian advance and potentially counterattack and push it back. So we need to be cautious. But we may be seeing the high watermark of the Russian invasion. It does show one very interesting thing, which is...
Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road.
The Ukrainian soldiers are fighting to take their country back and liberate their land and save...
In 200 yards, at Western Perimeter Road roundabout, take the second exit and stay on Southern Perimeter Road.
From the very beginning, and certainly my experience of talking to Ukrainians, everyone told them, I mean, if you remember our press coverage, lots of coverage in the media at the beginning was, well, you know, the Russians are going to win, they're going to be absolutely... And the Ukrainians were like, no way, this is our country. And
exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road.
Some of us living in this country do remember...
Continue on Southern Perimeter Road for 1.5 miles.
For Putin to take control of that, and it's great to hear you saying that, you know, that morale they have kept up, and the visits from our Prime Minister, and I believe our former Prime Minister Liz Truss was hoping to visit. I remember seeing it listed as one of her first actions that she was going to visit Ukraine, and one wonders, because of the Queen's death, how long she might put that on hold, and in your opinion, how important is her to go out to Kiev as soon as possible?
So it's very important that we all understand that we in the West are the key to whether Ukraine wins this war or not. We don't have to go and do the fighting. The Ukrainians will do that, but we're going to have to provide our support, our money, including the money we're spending on energy. We're going to have to rev up our defence industry to build the equipment and ammunition that the Ukrainians need, and we're going to have to look after the 17 million or more Ukrainians that have moved, the humanitarian consequences, and the reconstruction costs. So Ukraine can only win this war if we stand with them, and we need to do that because this is about our security, our values, our prosperity. But interestingly, just as we're seeing high Ukrainian morale, what this recent event has shown how fragile Russian morale is. So when people talk about the tipping point, it is too soon from the military perspective. But if we were to see the complete erosion of Russian morale as they start to be pushed back, particularly with the onset of winter, then maybe Ukrainian success will come sooner and quicker and cheaper. Way too early to tell.
Way too early to, but some green shoots of hope there. Thank you so much. That was General Sir Richard Barrons, a former senior British Army officer. Back to your calls now, and we are still talking about our new monarch, King Charles III, taking the reins at 73 years old. Charles will be one of the most senior monarchs to take up the responsibility. Do you think this will make him a wiser ruler, or do you think it will keep him from staying in touch with his populace? Hugh has called from Forest Hill. What do you think, Hugh?
I think he'll make a good monarch. I'm 78 now, so I've seen...
A little bit older than our... Only a little bit older than our king.
I've seen. I mean, his grandfather was alive when I first met the monarchy as a young boy at school. I never met the grandfather. He died in 53, but I mean, I was at school then. And of course,
in a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Beacon Road.
I'm a royalist through and through. I was brought up a royalist, and I've got film of the Queen Mum and the Queen on parade at Horse Guards on Trooping the Colour. We were about 10 feet away from her. It's quite an interesting cine film I've got in my archives.
Yeah, and well, that's wonderful. You've got that cine film from that previous era. Do you have you say? I think you said you're 76. Is that right, or 79? 78. Sorry.
Yeah,
well, how have you felt?
Exit the roundabout onto Beacon Road.
Has that resonated with you? Do you care about?
In 100 yards, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Stanwell Road.
For future generations.
Life is a challenge for everybody at the moment financially, but particularly people on a fixed income like me. I'm on my pension.
Exit the roundabout onto Stanwell Road. In half a mile, turn right onto Great Southwest Road, A30.
Chickens and eggs, and we used to change eggs for sugar and butter rations.
We're not so self-sufficient anymore, are we? We do rely on going to the supermarkets
and there's not very many places you can keep chickens in London.
One of the things I think our new king would have loved us to all keep our chickens. Thank you, Hugh. Loved hearing from you. Back to your call shortly. But first, we are going to briefly move away from Charles and onto his queen, Camilla, and also the new Princess of Wales. Joining me now is Lisa Armstrong, head of fashion at the Telegraph. Lisa,
turn right onto Great Southwest Road, A30.
And because she was a woman, sorry to state the obvious, she provided this incredible visual representation of royalty. You know, those incredible tiaras, the incredible diamonds. You know, you even heard President Macron in his amazing speech and first tribute to her, talk about her style. Now, we're not probably going to see particularly exciting individual style from Charles, but what do you think we're going to see from our new queen?
In a quarter of a mile, at Clockhouse Roundabout, take the first exit onto Staines Road, A315.
Stepped up to this huge role.
In 200 yards, turn left onto Hatton Road.
King Charles is a pretty snazzy dresser. I mean, he's impeccable. I just have to say that.
He is impeccable, isn't he? He's absolutely impeccable.
But he really does care about his clothes.
But I don't think we're going to see him in a tiara anytime soon.
We're not going to see him in a tiara. Well, obviously,
well, you never know.
The Queen Consort has an amazing array of jewellery now at her.
Turn left onto Hatton Road.
Disposal. Not her disposal, actually, because not all of it will personally belong to her. Some of it belongs to the state, but they're just spectacular pieces there, and I with so much history and so much significance. And I think we have already seen Camilla as Duchess of Cornwall really stepping up to the role.
In 200 yards, turn left onto Staines Road, A315.
Very much sort of we always saw her in jodhpurs, didn't we? And over the last 20 years,
much more sort of relaxed floral dresses, jodhpurs, hair a bit messy.
Turn left onto Staines Road, A315.
I mean, I always think with Camilla, it's the hair. It's like this aureole, isn't it? It's this halo, and it's just got bigger and bigger and blonder, and it's wonderful. It's like a sort of
in a quarter of a mile at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Staines Road, A315.
We're going to see her though use as many jewels and grand outfits as the Queen did, because obviously the Queen was, you know, grew up in a completely different era, and she really used, I remember actually, you know, this was a great piece in Vogue a while ago at one of the previous Jubilees, is that she really used those jewels when she was at those big state dinners and foreign trips to sort of add a certain air of sort of influence and grandeur to her. I don't think we're going to see our new Queen using the incredible royal jewels and the tiaras and the outfits to such an extent, no, because she's grown up in a different era.
I hope we do see her use them, because I think they're incredibly effective, you know, at sort of painting this instant communicating this instant image of majesty, and they do have the incredible historical significance. You know, the coronation crown that Queen Elizabeth wore was you know, was made for George VI's coronation, and she wore it every year to the opening of Parliament. I think Camilla will wear them, because otherwise, were they going to sit in dusty vaults? No, I think
that'd be a huge shame.
It would be a huge shame. And as I said, I mean, the late Queen Elizabeth had sort of 300 pieces that were her own. But she really deployed them. You know, she used them for messaging. So when she had Welsh gold in her wedding band.
Yes, it was very clever the way